Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, along with my co-host, Rebellious D.
Hey everybody.
Hey, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, where we will be reviewing an anime called The Great Pretender that just came out on Netflix this past summer, July 2020, and it ended up coming over here to the States in August 2020 of this year. I've recently stumbled across this anime because I finished watching Hunter x Hunter for the first time this year. And when I'm doing cardio at the gym, I like to, watch something so that way I don't have to watch the TVs that they have on at the gym. And somebody had recommended The Great Pretender to me. So I was just like, okay, I'll check it out. And woo, what a great story. A great series, great characters. The music is awesome. And while I was watching this, I kept telling D and our other co-host Trav to check this anime out because it was just really good. And D, he actually checked it out. Trav, he said he's going to get to.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Trav has so much on his plate that we don't know when he's going to get to the series, but hopefully he'll get to it soon because, like I said, everything about this series, like it's 10 out of 10. There was one time where D was calling me while I was at work and he just kept calling my phone and I was on the 4th episode of the first case and I'm just like, damn it, like leave me alone. but yeah, man. So D, before we get into this, I just wanted to go over like a few specs on like, what the anime is and whatnot. It was produced and created by Wit Studio, the same studio that was behind Attack on Titan season 1 through 3.
Mm-hmm.
It was directed by Hiro It was directed by Hiro Kaburagi, and it was written by Ryoto Kosawa. And it's a total of 23 episodes, and these two gentlemen, they knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, man, I definitely agree. Another one that I'm very interested in is After the Rain, which is apparently a manga, and I definitely plan on checking that out.
Okay. Yeah, I looked through, their list of stuff that they worked on. And see, I'm one of those type of people where it's like, I really love to be recommended stuff because especially when something is really good, when you get a recommendation from people that that it's going to be better than you just actually like just venturing out and finding something. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
So just to give, an overview of what the series is pretty much about. It's about a small-time Japanese con man named Makoto Itamori.
Itamura.
Itamura. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me, D. Yeah.
At least you didn't call him edamame.
Hey, I was gonna get to that, but yeah, it's Makoto Itamura, and he gets wrapped up into working with a skilled con man named Laurent and his team of con artists and conning wealthy criminals all over the world. And like D just said, that's what Laurent calls Makoto. He calls him Itamami because he can't pronounce his last name right, just like how I butchered it when I was trying to say what the series was about. But yeah, D, so I love the series, but tell me, like, what was your first thoughts when you started watching this series?
I mean, I was hooked, to be honest, Banks. I was hooked one episode in. I really just could. It was one of those shows I only put it down because I had to go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign that the show is really good. It's got you in. I think I believe when I first watched it, I watched the first 4 episodes that night. And then I just, gradually, we talked about it on and off. And it's an amazing show.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. Like I said, when you were calling me, I was just like, yo, like this dude can wait. The cons that they pull on people, man. Like this is one of those animes where it's like every episode I was always surprised. And that's something that you really don't get in a lot of animes where it's like, it's a jaw-dropping surprise that you get. And like D said, like starting off with the first episode, like it gets you hooked. You have Makoto, who is working with somebody named Kudo, and they con, a woman in Japan into buying a water purifier that she doesn't need, and it's a very expensive water purifier. And then it's like, they meet Laurent at a restaurant. It's like one of those bar restaurants that's on the street.
Like a
And
ramen stop, right?
yeah, like a
Okay.
ramen stop. And he picks up a wallet. He pickpockets Laurent and says, "Hey, you drop your wallet." And then, at the end of it, he finds out that Laurent conned him. And then we find out that Kudo was actually working for Laurent. And that's one of the things that I love about this series, is because Laurent, like, he's this smart con man. Like, when I say he's skilled, like, the dude is skilled. Like, he like, when they say that somebody always stays 2 steps ahead, Laurent stays 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, man.
Like, that's one of the things that I loved about him in Case 3 when they went to London, the snow of London. And before I even talk about that, like, the names of each case, like, you have for Case 1, which was the Los Angeles connection, then Case 2 was Singapore Sky, Case 3 was Snow of London, and then Case 4 was the Wizard of the Far East. Now with Snow of London, when they had went to London, it's like Laurent had already planned stuff, because Makoto has this ongoing thing where he's trying to show Laurent that he's the greatest con man. And he does his own big job after working with them on the first and second case, and he's just like, I want to be able to do this without Laurent knowing. And while the job is successful, he ends up failing because somebody purchases the painting that he's trying to con somebody out of, and he sells the painting for $20,000. Whereas when we find out that the criminal for this case is a wealthy artist connoisseur, and he knows like, when he sees stuff, he knows what the price is and like what the art is worth. And when he saw that they were only selling it for $20,000, what was the price that it was really worth?
It was a lot more than that.
Wasn't like
I can't remember the exact number.
Wasn't it like $1 billion or something like that?
Yeah, and then they end up splitting it, so it breaks down differently. I will go back and look, but yeah, I think it was around the billion mark.
No. When the criminal James, the 007 art world, James Coleman, when he got it, I believe he said that it was worth $1 million, but he bought it for $20,000, and it's like they all got, like, pretty much they got scammed,
Yep.
But yeah, like, that was a really good episode. Like, I mean, I just wanted to start from the beginning, like, going all the way back to Case 1. I just wanted to mention that because of how, like I said, Laurent is always 10 steps ahead. But we go with Case 1, Los Angeles connection. We're introduced to our characters, and they are trying to con a man named Eddie Casano, who is a drug dealer. He's a movie director. And one of the things that I love about this series is how they bring in stuff from our world into this anime. Like, they mentioned Leonardo DiCaprio, and they mentioned movies and stuff. Now, D, I wonder if in Japan, like, is it the same dialogue? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that they mention Leonardo DiCaprio in Japan, or do you think that they mention somebody else?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Not only do they use big names in this, they actually, that big names goes across the board. They use different types of corporations.
Yep.
Like, I think they mentioned Pepsi, and a few others during the race.
Yep.
Bandai was one. Bandai's on one of them.
And In-N-Out Burger was in Case 1 as well.
So I thought it was very interesting that they use those things. Those things mention the big corporations. To get back to your point, yeah, I think they did use the same in the Japanese version.
Okay.
Because, Leonardo is such a big actor. Pepsi, all that stuff's probably the same.
Yes.
It's all made too. So go ahead.
Yeah, I always think it's cool when you see in animes when they do use that stuff, because, like, in one of my favorite animes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you do see Pepsi products. Like, there's a giant Pepsi building in Part 4 in Diamond is Unbreakable. And then there was another anime, Tiger and Bunny is one, where like you see a lot of product placement, like from Pepsi, Domino's Pizza, all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. I like I said, I always think it's cool when you see real world stuff in animes. What you got, D?
Oh, real quick. Doesn't Tiger and Bunny do that, Banks? Don't
Yeah,
they?
that's what I just mentioned.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
I was my cat's being weird. I'm sorry.
yeah. You need to tell your cat to sit down.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Let's get it.
But no, but yeah, like with Case One, we're introduced to some of the characters that are known as Team Confidence, which is the group that Laurent has, where he's the leader of, and we're introduced to Abigail Jones. Now,
Yep.
she was pretending to be Eddie's new girlfriend, and first episode when we're introduced to her, LaRon is trying to sell this drug that is a candy because it's like nobody will be able to trace it because the drug is in the candy.
They're smuggling it through candy.
Exactly. And Abigail, she pretends that she's high on this drug. She starts doing like a bunch of gymnastics and flips and all this stuff around the pool area, and then Eddie's sold on buying it. And the game that they have set up between Makoto and Laurent is Makoto, he bets that he can get more money for this con that they're trying to do. And if he wins the bet, then Laurent has to work for him. And Makoto, he does end up winning the bet, but of course, Laurent's not working for him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
of course. Laurent doesn't want to hear any of that.
I love it because, like, remember, Abigail and Laurent thought that Makoto was just gonna, flip out and leave them after what happened at the house where Eddie's bodyguard, Salazar, was chasing Makoto. And he was just like, okay, this kid isn't worth it. He's a chicken. Let's just send him back to Japan and let's go ahead and work on this con. But Makoto, like I said, he ends up winning the bet and he ends up getting them, I believe it was 10 million. Laurent wanted 5 million and Makoto was able to get 10 million out of Eddie. And so while they're doing this, we find out that Abigail, like, she's part of the team. And then we're introduced to Inspector Anderson in the second episode, who is following Eddie and, trying to catch him and doing something wrong. And then we find out that Inspector Anderson is being paid by Eddie. Like, he's one of Eddie's men. And it was cool because it's like he's been chasing Eddie, I want to say, for like 10 years and he's never been able to catch him. And then we find out why. It was just cool because it's like, that's something that you see in a lot of mob movies and stuff where it's like the detective is always working with the criminal. Like, what was the movie with Matt Damon? It was Matt Damon and your boy Jack Nicholson, and Leonardo DiCaprio was in it too. You know what I'm talking about?
The one that comes to mind. This particularly reminds me of Catch Me If You Can, but
No, I know, but I'm just talking about like this
particular scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
off the top.
I can't remember the name, but
yeah.
If you know what the name is and you're watching this and you know what the movie is, let us know in the comments because I can't remember what the name of that movie is, and I'm pissed because when it comes to movies, like, I'm always able to name them.
Yeah, one of us usually has it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just something that you will see in any mob movie where it's like a cop is working for the drug lord or whatnot, and then we're introduced to Cynthia, who is an actress, and she pretends to be like this head of FBI. She says that, Anderson, I know what you're doing and whatnot, and it's like, if you don't work with us, then you're going down too. And then by the end of the case, it's revealed that Cynthia wasn't the real FBI agent, and that she was able to swindle, I believe it was $1 million, or it was either $1 million or she cleaned Eddie's bank account. His account. She cleaned it. And then we find out that she wasn't even, part of
the actual agent.
Yeah. And then Salazar, we end up finding out that like he's a good guy. One of the things that I love about this series is that it's kind of like Robin Hood. Like they're modern day Robin Hood and Men in Tights, where it's like they're robbing from the rich to help out people that were wronged or something bad happened. You know what I'm saying? And Salazar, the only reason why he was working was to provide for his son. His wife, she died, and he only got to see his son on Sundays. And then that's when Salazar and Makoto, they were together, and Makoto was just like, well, we can do whatever I want to do, then let's hang out with your son. And he found out that Salazar was a good guy, he was a good father, all this stuff. And it was cool that at the end of the case that Salazar was able to get off of going to jail. He was able to finally spend time with his son now. And Eddie ended up going to jail. You know what I'm saying? So we thought.
Yeah. So we thought.
Yeah, so we thought.
There's a lot of that so we thought going on, right, Banks?
Yes.
There's a lot of that so we thought.
Like I said earlier, with all the surprises that we see, like every episode has a surprise. And that was pretty much the sum of the first case. And then we get to case 2. But before we get to case 2, one thing that I forgot to mention is that when I first started watching this anime, I thought that I was watching it dubbed. And they had subtitles and they were talking in Japanese. So I was just like, I don't mind watching it subbed, but when I saw the trailer for it, the trailer was dubbed. Usually when you watch stuff on Netflix, if it's a dubbed anime, it'll automatically be dubbed unless you change it. And then when I went to my settings, I saw that it was dubbed and the subtitles were off. And in this series, there are a lot of different languages that you'll see. And when you see, people talking, like they're talking in their native tongue, and it's they do a fantastic job at that. So,
I mean, it's very interesting the way they chose to open it up using different languages all at once almost. And like you said, it interchanges from each like continent that they move to. So very, very good. Very good.
Yeah. Moving along to case number 2, Singapore Sky. That is the case where it's like Makoto, he did the first case. He wants to have an honest life, an honest living, making money and whatnot. So he leaves the confidence team and he thinks that he's working for, a pilot company and fixing planes, learning a skill, learning a trade, only to find out that it was a whole setup by Laurent. Like Laurent, that's what I said. It's just like when he's 10 steps ahead, like he already has like everything set up on like what he wants to do and people that he wants to use and whatnot. And the case with this one was there was Sam Ibrahim, who was the owner of Pathfinder Air Races, and his brother Clark Ibrahim, who pretty much the races they were fixed. And there was a pilot named Lewis Muller who, he did his job. You know what I'm saying? It's like Clark always came in first place, but it's like Lewis was his rival. And so what happens is, Lewis is just like, okay, I'm ready to do this for real. Clark is just like, yo, let's go. And Sam ends up having somebody sabotage his plane, causing him to lose the race. And not only that, but his plane ended up crashing and Lewis ended up losing his legs in the process of that. So with this case happening, of course, they were going to steal all of Sam's money. And they wanted to get revenge for Lewis because he got screwed over, which is what they did. And I just like how everything played out. Something else that happens in this series as it goes along is we find out the backstories of each of the confidence men. And sorry, not confidence men, team confidence. I don't know why.
There you go.
I don't know why I want to keep saying confidence men. I believe that there is a group called the Confidence Men, but I can't remember where that's from. If you know where it's from, leave it in the comments. And also, too, something I forgot to do in the beginning that D always gets on me for is make sure you like and subscribe this video.
That's right. That's right. Follow, subscribe. Tell Banks he has a nice smile. All that stuff.
Hey, I don't have the microphone in front of me this time, so you know what I'm saying.
Ah.
I wanted to make sure that I showed my face because last time I was like this, just talking up on the microphone, and you couldn't see anything. And I wanted y'all to see my face. I wanted y'all to see my Charlie Murphy shirt. Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. But like I was saying with case number 2, you get backstories on all the characters. With Makoto, we end up finding out, and I believe it was in case 1, that he ended up going to jail because he was working with Kudo, and he was trying to make money in order to pay his mom's hospital bills because she was ill. And what ends up happening is the company that he works for with Kudo, the cops end up catching him, and he has to go to jail. And Makoto's father had already went to jail because he was a lawyer who was a part of a legal child trafficking ring.
Yep.
And we'll get to that later on. But yeah, you find that out about Makoto in case 1, and then in case 2, we get Abigail's backstory, where it's like, you know, she was a child that lived in Baghdad, and she was a ballerina, and she ended up losing her parents because there were bombs dropped over Baghdad. And then we come to find out that Lewis was one of the pilots when he was in the army that dropped the bombs. And Abigail, she wanted to kill him, but luckily Makoto was able to, you know, talk with her and learn more about her and whatnot, and in order to try and help her heal so that way she could move on with her life. And Lewis, he ended up apologizing to her because at the end of the day, while it was wrong what he did, he was in the army. You know what I'm saying? Also, Abigail, she became a child of war. She ended up, you know, joining the army where she was, and she used her ballerina skills and all of that stuff to, you know, become who she was, like becoming acrobatic and whatnot. I feel like there was something else that I wanted to drop about Abigail, but I had a brain fart. But so D, with case number 2, Singapore Sky, how did you feel about this one?
Overall, I loved the story for it. I actually really like it. How the brothers, you know, what they were doing was wrong, and then you see them later on. You know, we'll get to that. But I like the overall view of the stories or the cases and their ability to reuse the characters.
Yes.
At some capacity, the villains of each story end up kind of redeeming themselves, if you will.
Yes.
And I think this one was my favorite. I loved a lot of the music that was featured in this case and the high flying. It reminded me a little bit, the flying aspect reminded me a little of Cowboy Bebop. Like some of the air fights that they used to have, and the swordfish too. It just reminded me of that kind of stuff. You usually don't see airplane flights, races, in anything really.
Yeah.
You know, and this show is we talked about it. It's so unique, and I think that's why I like this case the most. So
yeah.
Yep.
Like
How did you feel?
I like what you said when you brought up music. Like, that's one of the things about this series where it's like the music is phenomenal, the aesthetics that you see, like the colors. Like, this anime is very, very vibrant. Like each scene, like, it's colorful. It's like you get mesmerized by the color. Like, if you're really into art, I would recommend this anime for you too. And also too, I'm sorry because it's like we are talking about spoilers for the series. But I do hope that you're one of those people where it's like you don't mind spoilers and you can still be entertained by our review and still check it out, because I'm one of those people. It's like I get spoiled by stuff and it doesn't take away the excitement and the joy of watching something. Like, just like my Charlie Murphy shirt, like these are the type of colors that you would see on the anime, but they're just more brighter and more lively. You know, something that brain fart that came back. I wanted to go back to Kudo and Kim, which was the lady who Makoto had sold the water purifier to. They were in on the con and recruiting Makoto. And it's like, it's just cool that, like I said again, with Laurent being 10 steps ahead, like everything is set up to help Makoto. And this is really Makoto's journey into becoming just finding out the truth, about his father, finding out the truth about, stuff that went down because, after his father was arrested, he looked at his father as a hero. And when he got arrested and then he wasn't there after he got out of jail to see his mom when she was ill, he kind of lost respect for his father. He didn't want anything else to do with him. But like I said, we'll get to that later. But moving along to case number 3, Snow of London, which is my favorite case out of. Case number 4 is really good too.
Yeah,
they're all good.
Yeah, it's hard to pick.
It is.
I just pick because it's just it's the thing you got to do. You got to pick out your favorite. But it's so vibrant, like you said, the whole way around. The music's great throughout the series. Banks, just keep driving, keep going. Come on, Laurent.
Driving, man. So yeah, like I said, case number 3, which is Snow of London. Again, Makoto. After they do the con in Singapore, Makoto goes to London. He's trying to start over again, and what ends up happening is, like I said earlier, he wants to do his own con, and not a con really. Well, yeah, it's a con, and sell the picture. But what ended up happening is James Coleman, who they call the 007 of the art world, he sees the photo, he sees that it's only 20,000, he sees it's a steal, and he's just like, okay, I'm taking it. It's like how many times when we were younger, we would see TV shows where they would joke about, like, say for example, my cell phone, like I sell my cell phone for $10, and later on you're watching something on PBS where like the guy that bought my cell phone for $10 is now selling it for it's worth $10 million. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I would have that, I would have got the money,
Yep.
But with this case, Cynthia, she knows who James Coleman is because this is Cynthia's episode, where it's like we find out that she was a waitress at a bar and she met a man named Thomas who was an artist, and they fell in love. They stuck together through thick and thin. One of the things that they always said was that they enjoyed eating canned beans every night. And what ends up happening is James, he sees Thomas's artwork and he sees that he's a very talented artist, and he also sees that Thomas was able to redraw a famous piece of art. So James is just like, okay, I'm going to use this man to make fake art, and we're going to sell it for all this money. And what ends up happening is, as time goes on, Thomas starts changing, and he's not the man who Cynthia once knew. And Cynthia's just like, I don't want anything else to do with this, so I'm leaving you. And then once Thomas, he has an epiphany when he sees a little boy drawing one of the portraits that he drew, which was a fake portrait. He was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. He ends up in debt. And Cynthia wants to use this as a way to get revenge on James, not only for screwing Thomas over and changing him, but for screwing other people over as well. So D, like, what were some of the things that you loved about this episode? Because I can go on and on, but I want to let you cover this, and then I'll say some of the things that I loved about it.
Me personally, I really liked the love story aspect of it. It was, I think it was a good gear shift for the show overall. And me being an artist, I really liked art. So anything, it just tends to focus you in more on it. And the music, again, soundtrack, it all goes together so well. And I don't know, man. It's always good to see people get their just due, man. It was terrible. James, scamming people over and over again. So, but that's basically the premise of the show. Conning a con man. That's essentially how it goes. What about you, Banks?
I love how you brought up this case being a love story, because not only did we have the love story with Cynthia and Thomas, but we also had the love story with James and the girl who he was manipulating, Farrah Brown, and she was like this wealthy millionaire, and she was loaded with money, and James was only using her to buy like, this expensive art and whatnot, and he really didn't care about her. And I was happy when, she heard the tape recording of the stuff that James was saying, and she left him. And I love that her butler, it's like at the end of the case, it's like, I'm just like, okay, well, her butler, he's been there with her for, a long time. It seemed like that there was going to be something between her and her butler, which I do kind of hope happened, because, he always tried to keep it straight and narrow with her. And, for knowing her for so long, I can see, that relationship that he would already have with her, and, the way that he cared about her and whatnot. Like you also said with the music, there was a song that played in this episode whenever Cynthia and Thomas were together, and it was such a beautiful song. I remember when I was watching it at the gym, I was just like, man, it's like I'm up here trying to work out, and it's like I'm getting in my feelings looking at her love story, man. But yeah, again, it was a good case. Cynthia, she was able to get revenge. She was able to help out Thomas. Thomas was able to pay off all the debt that he was in because of this. And remember, at the end of the case, Cynthia, she says, LaRon, I already knew that you planned all of this from the beginning. And he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to case number 4, which is The Wizard of the Far East. This was season 2 of the series, and this came out over here for us in November. This whole case was the entire season. It was 9 episodes, and it pretty much told us everything that happened in the story, like from the past and everything. It takes place in Tokyo and Shanghai, and with this case, it's about a woman named Akemi, who is the president or the CEO of a company. And with this company, it's like they're doing like all this illegal stuff. They're doing sex trafficking, child trafficking.
Yeah, that's the big one. That was unreal. It took it to another level for me. You know. Yeah.
It was crazy. Like I said, with this one, we finally got the backstory on LaRon and how he became a part of Team Confidence. And we see that it was originally the original leader of Team Confidence was a woman named Dorothy. And LaRon's mother was sick, and she ended up getting scammed by this con man. And LaRon was going to kill this guy. Because it was like, his mother died. He had nowhere to go. But growing up, LaRon, he was already starting to become a successful talker. Like, he was good at his words and stuff like that. He was a good actor. So when he was going to kill the man that scammed his mom, Dorothy, she intervened, and Dorothy was the scammer's girlfriend. And Dorothy had, like, they conned him. You know what I'm saying? And this is when we're introduced to Team Confidence, which I said Dorothy, she's the leader. Kim Si-won, she was the woman who Makoto had sold the purifier to in the first episode. She was a part of it. And then Makoto's father, Seiji, he was a part of the Confidence Man. He was like their lawyer and all this stuff. And we just see the backstory, the relationship with them. I'm mad I can't remember their saying, but it was something along the lines.
Oh yeah, mess up and we'll dump you.
Yeah. What is it?
We aren't friends. We aren't family. You mess up, we'll dump you. You'll be on your own, right? Something like that.
Yep, correct. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, and trust only yourself. That was the other part of it.
Yes.
Like great saying.
That was the Team Confidence's slogan and motto, is because it's like, you don't want to, become friends with people, even though they're all friends. You know what I'm saying? I understand. Yeah. I understand why, they say that, just to, protect everyone. So LaRon, he ends up joining Team Confidence, and it's like they pull off all of these cases and whatnot. And then it gets to Tokyo and Shanghai, where it's like, before that, LaRon and Dorothy, they kind of form a relationship. And Laurent, he wants more with Dorothy. Like, he's in love with her. He wants to marry her, and he wants to, just start a new life. It's like, they have all this money now. They can do whatever they want to do. And Dorothy, she wants to do one last big job before they get out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what leads them to Tokyo, where it's like they're going to like the auction that's taking place where the children are being sold and whatnot. And Makoto's father, Seiji, he is the person that is buying all of the kids. So that way he can put the kids with families after he buys them. And what ends up happening is Dorothy, she is being disguised as, dang, I can't remember. It's like a princess or something. No, not a princess.
Not a princess. That was Abby did that one.
Yeah, Abby was the princess. I can't remember what Dorothy was disguised as, but what ends up happening is the person that is running the Shanghai portion of this Lou, he ends up seeing an article where it's like the real girl is doing something else somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So Laurent is like one of Lou's translators.
Yep.
And they end up finding out that it's like she's a fake, and Dorothy, she gets killed.
Yep.
She gets shot, and she gets thrown overboard, and that's what sets Laurent up to wanting to get revenge for Dorothy, and he sets up all of this stuff. But because of the process of this, Makoto's father, Seiji, he ends up getting locked up, and that's why he was a part of the child trafficking stuff, because he got locked up. But it's like, I feel like Makoto's mother, she knew what his father was really doing. And yeah, because it's like, when you think about it, like, while Makoto didn't like his father, she never said anything bad about him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, he did say that he was away on business and all of that stuff. So it's hard to tell. I mean, this show's so well put together. Once more, you can't. Some things are kind of left up to interpretation. Yep. And Banks, I wanted to mention too, to you, what I think too, their little code that they say is almost like a tether. Like, it's something that keeps them all together. Like, when something serious is about to happen, like when Dorothy got shot, it was something to keep them together from breaking character.
Exactly.
Kind of like a safe word. If you go back and you go through each one of the cases, you'll notice when things are going haywire, they would say that. So instead of everybody going down, it's just centered around that one person who blew their cover or whatnot, which I thought was something interesting too.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. It is a safe word, because when you think about it, Laurent was about to blow his cover when Dorothy was about to get shot. And, we're told this backstory by Seiji, who was crazy. Is like, I thought he was dead. And then, and then, we see him in this episode, like, he goes by Oz now. And like, that's why I love the title for Case 4, the Wizard of the Far East, and his name is Oz. And pretty much he starts working for Lou as his translator now. And what happens is Makoto knows that that's his father. And they kind of have a moment where it's like they patch stuff up. He apologizes for everything, and then he sets Makoto and his team up, which we thought was just like, damn, like, it's like, we thought that they were working together, like, everything was good, and it's like he sets him up, only to find out that, like, Seiji was setting up like the organization this entire time, because they were getting revenge for them killing Dorothy. And it's crazy, man, because now that I think about it, her name is Dorothy.
Yeah, I didn't even put it all together, man. I was so wrapped up in the show.
Yeah.
That, you don't really. I would love to rewatch it now to see all the things that we missed, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's probably more Easter eggs, if you will.
It's kind of like with Lovecraft Country, where it's like, you had Hippolyta and then Dee, and Dee's name was Diana, but it was like before we knew her name was Diana, they just all called her Dee. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, okay, I love the Wonder Woman reference. Like, that's cool as hell. But yeah, just like with this, like I didn't even pick it up. Like I picked up on the Oz part, but I never picked up on the Dorothy part. But yeah, like this is a case that Laurent has been trying to do ever since it happened. And then, like I said, you find out that, Makoto was chosen ever since, he got out of jail. And he wanted to help his mom out. He wanted to pay the bills and whatnot. Even at the start of this case, like, it seems like at the start of each case, Makoto is just like, I don't want to be a con man. I just want to live a normal life. And that's what he thinks that he's doing with this. And then he ends up finding out that they're doing all of this illegal stuff with the trafficking and whatnot. And remember, when he first saw the kids, he wanted to save the kids. Like, that was the mission, to save the kids. But the kids, like, they made a good point. It's just like, well, if you save us, where are we going to go?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
I just wanted to note that I love the cat and mouse between Edamame and Laurent, like how it's like cat and mouse the whole time. And Laurent finds these unique ways, like, hey, why don't you go here and see, check this place out. Yeah. And that's basically what happens in the last case. Yep. And he's like, you knew this whole time. And it's like, you get to do that so many times with them. And it's just fun. Very fun cat and mouse.
Yeah, just like how you said with Catch Me If You Can.
Yep.
Another thing about this series, it really reminds me of a modern day Lupin III.
Yep.
Just with the cases and the heist that they're doing and whatnot. Well, not heist, but just the cons that they're pulling on people to get all this money. And when you find out that somebody was a part of the con and all this stuff, like the big reveal at the end of this case was we get Sam, Eddie, and James. They all return. Well, they return late. James and Sam, they end up returning later. But we see Eddie who comes back, and it's like we're led on to believe that Makoto has screwed over Team Confidence, and now he finally got what he wanted out of Laurent. Like, he finally got to see his face, like with WTF. And then we found out that Eddie was a part of it. So it's like these people who they ended up conning, it's like they have a change of heart. And there's still a part of me that thinks that it's just like, if they could, then they would get their revenge. But I just assume that because it's like Laurent is so well known and he has all of these different people all over the world, like nobody's going to screw him over. Nah.
And it's just like you mentioned throughout this program, him being 10 steps ahead. Yep. And they also reused Sam's brother too in what was that, 3?
No,
in case 3 or
this was in case 4 when they
that was in case 4.
Yeah, when they kidnapped Abigail.
Yeah, because case 4 is so much longer.
Yes.
Yeah. So yep. I just like the reuse of the characters, and it's almost like a revolving door. Yep. It's so cool because there's so many turns in the overall story, and it's just like you don't know what to believe until you get to the end, and you still might not know what to believe. I mean, it's just very cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I believe that's everything for case 4. I don't think.
Do you want to spoiler alert for the cliffhanger?
Oh, thank you. I'm mad that I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, no worries, man.
We get the credits, and the cliffhanger is Dorothy's still alive, and it's like they try to play it off that she has memory loss on the island that she's on, but I don't know, man. Like, now I do believe in coincidences and stuff like that, but for the guy, because Laurent, he keeps Dorothy's ring. And after, Laurent gets his revenge, he throws the ring into the ocean. A fish ends up swallowing the ring, and then a fisherman ends up finding the fish, and then the ring is in. And I'm just like, okay. Like,
it was a bit much at that point.
That was an ass.
Just a little.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
It's like, come on now. But, I mean, it was cool to see that she was still alive. And I want to know like what's going to happen next. But then when I check, it's like this is it. Like there's like it's the series is over, which we've talked about this before on our podcast before, where it's like we love anime series where it's like it's not 500 episodes. Like, you know, it tells its story and that's it. Now, if they didn't show that cliffhanger at the end with Dorothy, like I would have been fine with, you know, the series being over. But even with that, remember they had the reveal where Laurent, like the president of the United States, like he was talking and then like Laurent was in his ear. So it's just like now it's like, so you telling me that the president of the United States is a part of Team Confidence? I mean,
or he might, the president, I interpret it as maybe the president was a crook and Laurent was getting the team back together to take him down. Politics are very, you know, everybody has an agenda. That's the way I've always looked at it.
I agree.
So I don't know what they were doing, but I think it would have been fine to stop there, to be honest. I would have loved it, dude. This definitely isn't a series that I'm sure either one of us want to see ran into the ground. Sure. They pull this is flawless work, man. I mean, this ain't got 100% on Rotten Tomato for a reason, you know? So
let me ask you this. If we were to get a season 3, where would you want the series to go?
First and foremost, if they choose to bring it back for season 3, I would like for it to wrap up with them taking down a insanely criminal president, because that's what they're aiming at right now. Unless it picks up, that makes the most sense to me. Make this the biggest thing they've ever done, and then walk away. Yeah. Because this could go into Fort Knox territory. This could, there's things they could do with it, man. Government scandals. It would be very interesting. Maybe just do it as a movie and call it a day. I don't want this run to the ground at all.
I can see that. I mean, even if they did it like with season 2, where it was just 9 episodes, like I would be cool with doing that again. Like just 9 episodes. Like I would love to see Dorothy reveal that she's still alive. I would just want to see Laurent to have a happy ending, because like I said, he was happily in love. He wanted to marry this woman. He thought that she was dead. That's something too. I can't remember who shot her, but it's just like
the crime boss. It was the main guy shot her.
Okay. So it was Lou. So my thing is, it's like, so was it fate that she survived, or did she already have a plan and notion that it's just like I just want to leave Laurent and just go solo, because remember too, it's like while he was in love with her, she still wanted to do jobs, and he was ready to settle down, and she was a wildflower.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. It could go multiple ways. She could be acting for all we know. Yep. Pretending to have lost her mind just to to wash her hands of everything, regardless. Has money, so it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, I like the the pitch that you had put out there about the politics and everything. Like I could see that happening. And again, I mean, like that would be good to either go into that or, like I said, we'll bring in Dorothy back. I mean, it's just there's so many places that they can go with this. Like there's other countries that they can go to, but I mean, either a movie or another 9 episodes, as long as it gets like a proper ending, is what I truly really want, and I really do hope that we get a season 3. Now,
but
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, like, that's what I mean. If you're gonna foreshadow, Laurent in on the president in any capacity, where do you go after you take down a corrupt, president? It has to wrap up. Now, I'm pretty sure we both agree again, Banks, that we would both love to see this set of characters again. Yes. Give them one super big mission and call it. I mean, because they are super fun, and I mean, we blew through the show with no problem.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, just like I relate these characters to like the next thing to me would be Cowboy Bebop again.
Yeah.
Just because of how likable the characters were, and just the story was all over the place again. I mean, they were fighting living food and stuff like that in Cowboy Bebop at some points.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just want to see him again. But Cowboy Bebop just doesn't work because of the way they wrapped it up. This is ended on a cliffhanger, but you got to do it right.
Exactly, and it's like I don't love it when stuff ends on cliffhangers because it's like I want more. I've heard nothing but good stuff about this series. Like even after I finished the series, I had put a tweet on Twitter saying, I need more. Like it's like you can't just leave me hanging like this. Like I want more. And like so many people liked my tweet, and I was just like obviously these people want more too. So it's like hopefully with studio they listen to everybody and they give us what we want. And with wrapping this up, the last thing I wanted to touch on was the ending song, which was "The Great Pretender," that was performed by Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
The first time I heard the ending, because usually on Netflix it skips the credit, just go straight to
autoplay.
Go straight to the next episode. So I was just like, okay, let me check it out. And when I checked it out, I was just like, man, this guy's voice, it sounds familiar. Is this Freddie Mercury? And it was Freddie Mercury. I loved how they use cats in the outro for the show, which is also another thing in this series where it's like, there's a lot of symbolism with cats and the little figurines that Makoto collects from the 25-cent machines.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole thing with cats and stuff like that, and then the intro, like it's pretty much shot frame by frame, the same as the Great Pretender music video that Freddie Mercury did. Rest in peace to him as well.
Yep. R.I.P.
When I heard the song, I continued to listen to it. Like I had it on repeat on YouTube until I came across a video recommendation of the Great Pretender song by this group called the Platters, and the Platters were the original singers of the song, and Freddie Mercury, he covered the song. Now this song, it originally came out in 1954, and it was on, I believe it was either somewhere in the top 10 on the Billboard charts back in that time. So for this song to be as amazing as it is, and then Freddie Mercury, he did a cover of it, and it was amazing with him doing it as well, man. It's like, if you haven't heard the Platters version, listen to the Platters version because they do an amazing job singing this song. What's crazy, right, is after I finished watching The Great Pretender, I believe it was my grandparents' anniversary, and we had went up to my aunt's house, and I was just like, hey, Grandma, you know who the Platters are? And she was just like, yeah, I know who the Platters are. And then I played the song. I played the original song, and she was just like, yeah, that was my song when I was younger. And
oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? It was just cool to, play that song. And she was just like, well, how do you know about it? And I was just like, I heard it in this anime called The Great Pretender, and Freddie Mercury, he does a cover of it in the outro and whatnot. And in the outro, I thought that the cat was Makoto. And, at the end of the outro, we see him, turn back into a human. He's hugging a woman. We weren't introduced to Dorothy yet. So, I thought, and all this stuff. And then we find out that the cat was actually Laurent, and he was born after Dorothy. And, you see all of the stuff. Like, there's one part in the outro where Laurent, he's swimming in the ocean. Well, he's a cat swimming and he can't breathe, and then that's the symbolism that if he could have saved Dorothy, that's what he did. I mean, I'm pretty sure he did, try to see if he could find her in the ocean.
Oh yeah,
like he couldn't. Yeah. But D, like, how did you feel about the outro and just the song in general, and Freddie Mercury, them using a Queen song as the outro for the series?
Queen is epic, bro. They're up there with like Journey and all those guys. Freddie Mercury, I mean, just to mention his name says enough. They did so much good work. I mean, God only knows how many amazing songs Queen has.
Yeah.
But I know that this was the first time that it had ever been used in an anime intro or outro. So that's just kind of mind blowing because it's Queen. I mean, their music is so vibrant.
Yeah.
Kind of like the colors in the show. It's amazing, man. A lot, not just Queen, a lot of the other artists. Let me see. There's Wild Side. Wild Side is a song that's in it that's really good. Flyers is another really good song. I mean, there's so many good songs throughout this series, and it goes so well with the dialogue and things that are going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree with you on that. With you bringing up Queen and this being like the first anime that used them and a series. When you think about it, man, a lot of animes, they usually have their own outros and intros. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I will say that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was one of the first anime that I saw where they were using actual recorded songs by artists. Like I can't remember the name of the band right now, but for part one, they used Roundabout, and I can't remember the name of the group. Oh, yes is the name of the group.
Okay.
They used Roundabout for that, and then for they used that for part one and part two, and then for part three, they used Walk Like an Egyptian and Long Train Home, and then for part four, they used I can't remember the song. Dang. And I had the song as a ringtone too, but they used the song for part four, and then for part five, they used the Jodeci song. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I will say that, and then again too with JoJo, they, like a lot of the characters in the show are named after musicians or songs and stuff like that. So yeah, like hopefully we see more series use name brand songs, songs that were made by these big artists like Queen and the people that I named for JoJo. And with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. D, your rating for the series?
Give me 10 out of 10, man. I'm gonna go bold. I dare everybody to go and check this thing out. Like I mentioned earlier, IMDb 8 out of 10. MyAnimeList.net 8.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomato 100%. Do it, people. I dare you. I double dog dare you.
So, you double dogs.
Yeah. Yep. I hit him with that Samuel Jackson.
Hey, bro. I love your rating for it because, like I said earlier, I gave it a 10 out of 10 too. And with that being said, thank you everybody for listening and watching. I don't even know what that is.
Watching.
Yeah, watching.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Hey, thank you for listening and watching this episode of our review for The Great Pretender. Check it out. If you've already watched it, tell us how you felt about it in the comments. Let us know if you give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Let us know what you want to see. Do you want to see a season 3? Do you want to see a movie? And also make sure that you like and subscribe and share with your friends so that way that they can see me and D's beautiful faces talk about The Great Pretender. So D, tell everybody in social media land, well, that's right, we're not on the podcast. Tell everybody in YouTube land where they can find you at on social media.
Nice switch up, Banks. You can find me at rebellious_D23 on Instagram. And also, if you have any recommendations for us, leave that in the comments as well. And Banks, take it away.
You can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook by typing in Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person that pops up. If not, I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. And also, we have a podcast called Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks where we release episodes new every Tuesday. So check us out. We talk about nerd stuff, just like we're talking about The Great Pretender up there. And you can follow us on all of our social media accounts at Leveling Up Banks. And that is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have a Patreon. If you would like to donate to our Patreon, just to say that you support us and you want to show us some love, we would definitely appreciate it. And with that being said, pinkies up. We hope that you have a happy new year. Stay safe and drink responsibly. Peace.
Later.